Good morning. We'll call to order the City of St. Louis Port Authority for its regularly scheduled meeting held on October 9, 2025 at 9 a.m. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Blake,
Present.
Commissioner Liddy,
Here.
Commissioner Kay,
Here.
Chair McBride.
And then we'll take up the approval of the minutes for the meeting held on September 11, 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Blake,
Aye.
Commissioner Liddy,
Aye.
Commissioner Kay,
Aye.
Chair McBride.
Aye. Motion passes. The minutes are approved. We'll take up resolution 25 PT 24 relating to ACBL Transportation Services and their request for a lease amendment. Susan, can you walk us through that, please?
Yes, what you're looking at is American Commercial Barge Lines mooring opportunities. It's 4,000, it's about 4,630 linear feet. That's all they have there is the mooring. And kind of in the center of the picture towards the back is a coal pile, because that's what they moved there is coal. And the bottoms kind of dropped down that market. And 5 years ago, they were at the woefully below market rate. And so we talked to them and we wanted to pretty much double their rent. And because their coal market was dwindling, we agreed to phase them into market rate over the 5 years. And so that's where they are now. They're slightly below market rate. And they've said their last coal shipment's going to move out of that site in November. So they're making zero money on that site. And we agreed to keep them at the current rate of the 30.75 cents until they start moving cargo there at that site, which they felt was going to happen soon. So our request before you is to give them another 5-year extension for their lease there for the same 4,360, linear feet. And they will, once they start moving cargo again, they'll come back and we'll talk about raising their rent. So they're almost at market rate. It's not like it was, it's not the minimum rate that's I think now $19.75 at the moment. So it's considerably higher. But we'd like to extend them for another 5 years at the slightly below market rate.
So the minimum rate's the 1975, and this proposed renewal is at $30.75.
Yeah.
And then the one thing I don't like about locking this into another 5 years is if their plan doesn't come to fruition. Do we have a situation if a year in they're still not moving any other product? What happens then?
Well, they'd stay at the $30.75. And I would imagine that they may want to give up the lease. They can't, start moving goods. So they're at 30.75, which is considerably more than the going rate.
Yeah.
And they're talking to other customers and they're pretty sure they're going to get other commodities.
Have there been any inquiries about space such as this from other partners, future possible partners?
You mean other potential lessees?
Yes.
Yes.
It's been ACBL's lease for a long time. Nobody's come to us and said, we want to take that lease. It's in a kind of tricky spot. It's the northernmost, the mooring lease that we have. It's in the North Riverfront, and that's fairly close to the confluence. And so it's hard to you can't fleet there because the current is too swift and there's too much sedimentation and they can't use a harbor tug, just a smaller boat, to get their barges in and out. They have to use a bigger boat that's meant to take tows down to New Orleans because of the conditions there. So I mean, it's not a highly desirable spot. They've been successful there for a number of years and they'd like to stay, so we're willing to work with them at least for the next few years.
And then paragraph 5 of the proposed lease, that's the one that would take us back to the bargaining table once they start moving product again. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Are there any other any other questions for Susan or the staff from the commissioners? Commissioner Liddy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Susan. So if they, at the end of the year, they just can't get anybody to work with them, will they come and have cancel the lease, or do we hold them for 5 years and you have to pay up? Or being a landlord, I mean, you can hold a tenant responsible for the payment until the lease expires. So I'm just wondering how this would work. If after 4, 5, 6 months, they don't have any customers, what happens then?
If they come to us and want to cancel the lease, we do that and put it back out for bid.
Is
I mean,
is there any penalty for canceling?
No, there's not.
What we could also do is assign a lease to another partner. So ACBL, is on the hook for paying this rent over the next 5-year term. If they're interested in getting out, likely we would ask them to find somebody to assume the lease and negotiate with that entity to take over responsibility for fleeting with appropriate rental rate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and in the past, the assignment has been typically what we do, and that way there's no gap in lease revenues to the Port Authority. So, Susan, that'd be the course of action. I believe that if this is approved, that I believe that the commission would like you to proceed upon.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Rather than canceling it, because I think we're bending over backwards for these guys. So I'm not overly enthused about a gap in rentals. Any other questions or here? Okay. Yeah, since this is a difficult portion of the river, I think that this is an accommodation we can make. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 25 PT 24.
So moved.
Second,
Alderman Cone.
Probably moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Flake,
Aye.
Commissioner Liddy,
aye.
Commissioner K,
Aye.
Chair McBride.
Aye. The motion passes and the resolution is approved. All right, we're going to take a resolution 25 PT 25 relating to professional services agreement with St. Louis Parking. Susan, can you walk us through that, please?
Sure. The levee in front of the arch is what you're looking at, obviously. And you can see some parked cars there. Cars have parked there for a long time. And over the years, there was never really a kind of formal agreement. And the Port Authority now leases that stretch of levee from the city. So that now we can turn around and have issue an RFP and get a tenant or an operator under contract to provide parking services. So we came to the Port Commission and got your approval to issue an RFP for an operator. We did that. We got 4 responses. St. Louis Parking gave us the best proposal. And so this is a request to execute the services contract with them And they would manage the parking there. They would collect the revenue for the parking. And there's a tiered structure of them sharing their revenue with us. And they would provide, they would clean up the trash, manage the parking equipment that, you know, you either have an app or you take your phone up to an electronic device to announce your presence and pay for it. And the parking runs between the two bridges, Poplar Street Bridge on the left and Eads Bridge on the right, from it's kind of the edge of LKS down the river. So the request before you is to allow us to sign the contract with St. Louis Parking, and we've included the term sheet that spells out the parameters of their contract with us. And that would start, I think it's November 1st. So that would start, the official contract would start November 1st.
What? So they're gonna pay us 12,000 a year plus share of anything over 100,000. Use
Right.
Park Mobile, but they're not required to have an attendant unless they, and if they do, they invoice us that cost. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah,
Okay. I'm trying, I mean, I like getting the 12,000 a year, but I'm not, what are they adding then if they're just using the pre-existing Park Mobile and they're not required to have an attendant?
they're managing the parking, so they collect the fees that people pay to park there. They go after the people that don't pay. They've provided several ways for people to pay for the parking. So they gave us, that was the best proposal that we got, and they've been there for a while. They clean up, they send somebody through periodically to clean up the trash. If we want them to provide an attendant, they will. There'd be a fee for that, but
Well, is the attendant the person that makes sure that the people are paying for the parking?
it's an electronic system. You either go through the electronic system by an app on your phone, or, you know, there's several ways to do it. And they monitor that. And if somebody doesn't pay,
How do they monitor it?
it's an electronic system. So they have some sort of feedback that comes to their main computer or wherever they have that information collected. It's like if you're parking in the city streets, you know, there's a meter or there's a post in the middle of the block, and you.
Oh, I fully understand that, but then if I don't, then someone comes by and gives me a ticket, and that's the part I'm trying to understand. Do we have to pay for the person that comes by and gives them the ticket?
Okay, we've noticed that Eddie Poor, who is St. Louis Parking, is available. Would you like him to address your comments?
Yes, please.
We're bringing him over.
Yes.
All right, let me know when Eddie's joined.
Eddie, you're muted.
All right, Mr. Poirier, this is Chairman McBride for the Port Authority. We're looking at the agreement, and I'm just trying to understand how the terms are going to be put into practice. And so I appreciate that we're using Park Mobile for monitoring the parking and using that to collect the parking amounts. But is there going to be someone on the premises making sure that people actually do pay to park?
Yes, thank you, Chairman McBride. So as Susan had mentioned, and I'll answer your question, but as the customers pull in, they will, use their phone to make a payment through the Park Mobile app, which is who we're currently using. And we will, as noted, there will not be an attendant on the property unless that's something that the Port Authority chooses. So we will have people coming through periodically. I don't know if it's once a day, twice a day, 3 times. It'll probably be dependent upon the time of year and the business that's there. We will issue citations. Our citation recovery rate is around 45% at this point. Not to get into the weeds, there's a lot of issues with kind of going after people too heavily at this point in time. So we just issued the citation. There's no real follow-up. So but the capture rate has been pretty significant with just putting the ticket on their car. The reason we have, we're not sharing until we get to the 100,000 is we are paying for all of the insurance. We're paying for all of the cleanup. We're paying for the auditor to come through and issue these citations. So we'll be, generating a report every single month, dealing with all the transactions, et cetera. So I don't know if that answers any of your question.
It does. Yeah. So for your company, the individuals who issue the citations, they're called auditors.
Yes.
And so the auditors they go through the parking area, whatever the schedule is, depending on the amount of people who've been parking there. And that's something that you guys, that's an employee of St. Louis Parking.
That is correct. In addition to those auditors, we also have managers that will go through periodically, and there'll be a cleanup person that goes through periodically, whether it's daily, every other day, again, dependent on what's going on the levee at that time of year. So we will have a physical presence. In addition to that, as we have been for years, we help with the barges that are coming in and the different ships that are coming in to help blocking off for the mooring. Turning to my document here.
Yeah, the St. Louis Parking will block off the area where the cruise boats drop their ramp. And so we have the American Cruise Lines, 7 or 8 vessels come in, different vessels, and Viking comes in at so-called Arch South, between the south leg of the Arch and Poplar Street Bridge. So they'll block that off so that the boats, the cruise boats, provisioning and whatever automobiles or whatever they need for their customers, some of their motor coaches, St. Louis Parking blocks all that off to enable those cruise boats to load, embark and debark.
Okay.
And this was not a question that you asked, but just I think it's worth noting. So we've been there for a long time, and as you can imagine, with the river going up and down, kind of the revenue stream there has been a roller coaster year to year. Some years it's very low, some years it's medium high. So the reason we structured our deal the way we did is we wanted to make sure that we at least gave the Port Authority a base fee of $12,000 per year, and then 50% after the 100,000. That allows us to attempt to recover on the lean years, recover whatever revenue, whatever expenses we have in those lean years. So I would anticipate if we were there for 5 years, just based on the past, I would anticipate we may lose money 1 or 2 years out of the next 5 years. So it was kind of hard to deal with that. It's unlike any other location because of the river changing really what our capacity is.
Correct. When
Historically,
the river's up, there's not any capacity. Commissioner Kay?
has it ever been over $100,000 in revenue?
It has been over 100,000. So in 2020, and I just looked up the last 4 years. In 2020, it was 64,000. And then in 2024 is 319. I don't know what don't quote me on our forecast for this year, but I think it's closer to 100,000 this year. We were as high as 622 in 2023. So again, from 64 to 622. One of the follow-up questions that was asked was just to clarify. So what would the Port Authority make? I'm turning to that page. If the revenue was 200,000. So in that case, if the gross revenue was 200,000, the port would receive 57,000, which is the 12,000 base rent plus 45,000. And then if the gross revenue is 400,000, the port would receive 152,000. So again, just circling back to trying to hedge our bets for those lean years by not sharing the revenue until we get to that 100,000.
Any other questions for the staff or Mr. Porter from the commissioners? Commissioner Liddy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Porter. When a person checks in, is it like the city where you can pay for like 2 hours or 4 hours? Is it, or just one fee and that's it for the whole day, or is there overnight parking, or how's
Great.
that?
Yeah, great questions. So generally speaking, we don't like overnight parking for obvious reasons. It seems things seem to happen at night. So I think the plan is to make it an overnight parking, but if the Port Authority wants us to make any exceptions, we've got a great partnership with them and we can certainly do so. At this point in time, the thought was that it would be a flat fee, but I think for the various vendors that are down there, we will be able to work out some sort of special validation system or monthly parking where they can use a hangar for people that are going in and out frequently. So we're flexible in that regard.
Okay. And the tickets that are issued, are they like real tickets, like with the St. Louis police ticket on cars that, overstay or not, or are they kind of like,
Sorry, no, it's really if you it's just a little pocket printer that our auditors carry around with them. So it's kind of just like a large receipt you receive from a restaurant. And we can
Okay.
certainly provide a sample of that and modify it in any way.
Okay. Can you go after people with expired license plates too?
That's a great question. I don't think we can do that, but I'm going to certainly look into that. But
Would you please? Because that's, as you know, it's been a nightmare throughout the state of Missouri.
yeah, I would assume we could not, but I will certainly look into it just because, we're a private parking company and that, but I will certainly look into that. And then would you like me to report that back to Susan, or who should I report that back to?
Yeah, report that back to Susan, please.
Okay.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
At just one point, Mr. Chairman, on the resolution part, the item C is missing a word. I don't know if Susan corrected that. It says shall immediately to the authority. It should be immediately report to the authority.
Yeah, thank you for that. It'll go into the actual contract documents. So you are
Okay.
correct. We missed that. That word wasn't in there. It should have been.
No problem. I'm not an attorney either.
You're right.
But I will ask Mr. Morrow if we need to amend anything in that regard.
No, that's a typographical error, and the terms of the Exhibit B are not going to be incorporated verbatim. So we'll make sure the language in the contract is correct.
Thank you. All right, if there are no further questions from the commissioners, then I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 25, PT 25.
So moved.
Second, previous rule.
Properly moved and seconded with a request for previous roll. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is approved. All right, thank you, Mr. Porter.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take up our lobbyist Q3 report. So it looks like we have both Jackie Barget and Chris Johnson on the line. I'll let you guys decide among yourselves who would like to go first.
Jack?
Chris is unmuted first, so I think you win.
All right, I'll go. Jackie, I guess I'm going first. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to give a brief report on what is and what is not happening in Washington right now. So unfortunately, as I'm sure you have read and are aware from lots of media reports, the federal government is currently shut down. We are in day 9 of the government shutdown. There are no real substantive negotiations going on right now between the parties. So it's very unclear as to when the government will reopen. In the last government shutdown was in President Trump's first term, and that shutdown lasted 34 days. We're hoping that this one doesn't last that long, but we don't know for sure. On October 15th, somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.3 million members of the U.S. military are due to receive their bi-monthly paycheck. And so there is some thought that paying the military on time on the 15th will act as a driver for the House and the Senate and the White House to get together and come up with a deal to get the government reopened. But as we sit here on this Thursday morning, there is no current prospect that that's going to happen, but we shall see. As it relates to the port, obviously we're very concerned about operations of the Coast Guard, the Corps of Engineers, and the United States Maritime Administration. The Coast Guard is continuing to keep the river open and do what is required in terms of aids to navigation and search and rescue and other key essential functions of the Coast Guard. You know, what happens in these shutdowns is that certain employees are deemed essential and they have to come to work even though they may not get paid. So that's what's happening with his Coast Guard personnel. It's a bit awkward, as you can imagine, within these agencies for some people to be told they're not essential and they're told to stay home. But anyhow, that's the way the federal government operates. So the Coast Guard is doing what it needs to do to keep the river open. With regard to the Corps of Engineers, all the locks and dams on the Mississippi River system are operational, and all of the lock masters who run the locks and dams are deemed essential, and they're on the job. As it relates to the Maritime Administration, some of their employees have been furloughed. Others of their employees have been deemed essential. So it's not an optimal situation, but they're continuing to work to some degree. So hopefully this shutdown will not last much longer, but nobody really knows. The House passed a bill to reopen the government, but they have not been able to get the votes in the Senate. And we shall see what happens. I wish I had a more optimistic spin to put on that, but we just really don't know. In the midst of all of that, Susan and her team and I have been continuing to work on securing federal funds, both from federal agencies and from Congress, and those efforts are ongoing. I would also mention that there is we've mentioned once before, but I'll mention it again. The Coast Guard's district that includes St. Louis is based in New Orleans. It's the 8th Coast Guard District, or historically they've called it that. Now they are coming up with a new name. I think they're calling it the Heartland District. But regardless, the admiral who is in charge of that district is based in New Orleans. And a month or two ago, there was a change of command, and there's a new admiral, Admiral Will Watson, who has come in. And as you all will recall, we worked very closely with the previous admiral, Admiral Barata, on a number of initiatives to enhance the Coast Guard's presence on the river, including helping them move a recruiting center close to the river and a training center. We have other ideas on things that the Coast Guard could do to enhance their presence and assist the port. So we are in the process of setting up a meeting for Susan with Admiral Watson down in New Orleans in early November, so that we can hopefully continue and enhance the good relationship we've had with the Coast Guard and Admiral Watson's predecessor. And we think there are all types of good opportunities for the port that can come out of continuing to work closely with Coast Guard. I'll stop there. That's my update, but glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any questions from our lobbyist in Washington? Well, I guess continue to monitor it all, and I guess we'll all find out together when we reopen the government.
We look forward to it.
Very good. All right. Thank you, Chris. Ms. Barget, how are you?
Good. Good morning, everyone. I do not have a ton to update you all on, but want to kind of give you a brief update on what's going on in Missouri and in Jeff City. But legislative wise, I think the last time we spoke, we talked about how we were successful in getting that fix done for the Waterways and Ports Trust Fund to make sure that we have access to those funds. We were very excited that actually passed, and at the end of August, that went into law. So we don't have to worry about that anymore and don't have to go try and reintroduce a bill, which is great. We have access to any money that is appropriated to us moving forward. Budgetary wise, we were successful in getting our funds. The governor vetoed a significant amount of money, but we were lucky that none of that was port funds. So everything was good there too. In September, I am sure you all read in the news that the Missouri legislature had a special session dealing with redistricting and IP reform, which neither of them directly impact you all. But the one thing I want to make sure you guys are aware of, at the end of that, Senator Lincoln Huff, who was the former appropriations chair, voted against redistricting and against IP reform, and subsequently was removed from being the chair of the Appropriations Committee. There's a lot of back and forth on whether that vote is the reason for that or not, but for us and how important appropriations from the state are, I just want to make sure you guys are aware that we have a change in guard of who's the chair of that Senate Appropriations Committee now. It's Senator Rusty Black from Northwest Missouri, Chillicothe. He also is great on our issues, thoroughly understands how important ports are, but we're kind of going into a time where revenues are decreasing. He's going to try and have to figure out how all of that plays out moving forward. And just a new face and a new name that you all will hear from me instead of Senator Lincoln Huff previously. With all of that said, obviously with that relationship and some of the turmoil that will and conflict that will be happening between Senator Huff and the Republican Party, and the conflict of how session ended last year with the PQs on a couple bills, there's going to be a lot of tension and some anticipated hurdles of how quickly legislation is going to move next year. So it'll be interesting to see how well the legislature actually functions or not, and if there's just a ton of fighting between Democrats, Republicans, amongst Republicans as well. But it'll be interesting to see. Budget-wise, just in general, the departments just at the beginning of this month submitted their recommendations to the governor, and the governor will start working on his budget proposals. We won't know that until January. But right now, just keeping an eye on everything, watching to see what happens. The big issues that are going on during the interim with the legislature is property tax reform. I think we'll see some big pushes of legislation to reduce or supplement property tax with a sales tax in some form next session, as well as income tax. But besides that, it's a lot of what you all are reading in the newspaper about what's going on in Jeff City. Between now and January, a lot of folks try and take a step back and spend some time with family because it's a non-election year. And then the only other thing, it doesn't directly impact you all, but I think you all saw that the Attorney General, Andrew Bailey, was given an appointment with the FBI. So we do have a new Attorney General, and Catherine Hanaway, who's a former Speaker of the House, attorney at Hush Blackwell, that will be stepping in to that role. I think she gets sworn in next week, but just some changes going on. But if you all have any questions about anything else going on, glad to answer them.
Thank you, Jackie. Any questions for Ms. Barget? All right. Looks like the questions are light today, but end of session and it's understandable. Well, thank you for all your work, and we'll continue forward. All right. Anything in open agenda?
Yeah, if I could add to what Chris said about the Coast Guard, they did indeed finish their recruiting office. It's in the Cleats Landing. It's in the first floor corner storefront of the Payne-Fort building. And it's open, and they want to have a grand opening. They haven't had that yet, but it's open. And the schedule for a training center a block away, also on the Cleats Landing, that's supposed to open in early January. So we're looking forward to people coming to the Cleats Landing to find out what the career in the Coast Guard might have to offer. And as soon as if there's any kind of major opening event, we'll be sure to let you know, because we're very glad to have them there.
Susan,
Outstanding. Go ahead, Chris.
I'll just quickly add to that the Coast Guard is thrilled with what has happened. They had a recruiting office in a fairly remote place that wasn't getting any walk-by traffic. So moving to this location has created a lot of optimism in the Coast Guard that they will be able to recruit and get a lot more foot traffic, if you will, through their facility. And it has served as a catalyst for Susan to be able to talk to the Coast Guard about doing bigger and better things that will have an even, more positive impact on the port. So just wanted to add that.
Outstanding. I'm glad that we have more foot traffic for the Coast Guard. And perhaps it's closer to I don't know what today's Coast Guard is like, but perhaps it's closer to a tattoo shop or something on the landing to get those recruits right into. All right. And our Navy vet is smiling a big smile, so I'm gonna let Kevin enjoy that. Anything I'll recognize Commissioner Liddy.
And just a quick question, does the Coast Guard facility overlook the river? And so when recruits come in, can they actually see where they might be working, or is it?
Yeah, the building, the storefront faces east, and it's on higher ground. So you can see barges going by. There's also a parking lot so that there's no building to block the view.
Cool.
And go ahead.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so.
You gotta get the Navy down there now.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. If there's nothing else, an open agenda, then our next meeting is scheduled for November 13, 2025. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Alderman Cone.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. We have concluded all the items on the agenda. We are adjourned. Thank you all. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.